Hello guys, as we were doing an update to the basic combat training maps at MARSOC, we realized that our medical system, in fact most MILSIM units medical system, follow a similar pattern where someone is a guinea pig or an AI is a guinea pig. You do the damage to them, you fix them. Now what if I could replace all of that with a more efficient system for training, medical training of recruits or medical training of your practice of already existing medics. One of the best ways is to create a small simulation area of medical units. So what I've done here basically is create a small system where I can create a unit using this data terminal because it's fancy, that's all, it just looks cool. The other way is to have a medical unit, which is this one, where you have the ACE medical facility synced with this, so that in case we need to treat the patient and he can't walk or something, you take him in there, then he's ready to go. Okay, so let's look at some of the scripts in the init lines of these boxes. The data terminal, of course, is an add action, and there's a createpatient.sqf. We'll go over this in detail to tell you what each line of it means. Same thing exists on the second data terminal, it's just a different file because the names are changed and so on. In case we want to delete the units, we have a laptop with simple lines here. Now this may look complicated, but it's not. We'll go over this with the SQF because the first line here is that of the SQF file as well. It's a quick and dirty way of doing it. The better way would basically be to use a trigger over here and then delete the units in the trigger and so on and so forth. But this works as long as you're not using the survival class, like it says over here, as one of your player units or in your missions, then you should be fine. Okay, so let's have a look at what exactly this does when we do a preview of it. Ignore that, that's just error codes which have no meaning. Anyway, so first thing first, this particular thing over here is the default ACE medical box, but I made it into an arsenal such that you only have access to the medical supplies basically and nothing else. So you can pick up whatever medical supplies you want. Say I don't have any elastic, pick some of that. I don't need any of these. They're used in basic medical system, which we don't use. Some EpiPen, morphine, blah blah, surgical kit maybe, so on, right? So once we have this ready, now we can create a patient. The way you do that is this one. Now this may just look fancy and take some time, but it's pretty easy to do. Transmitting data, receiving data, patient is formed, unit closes. That's why there's a delay, and that is just simulated by putting a sleep of 5 seconds. Now this particular patient, the damage on him is randomized. Sometimes you'll have a lot more damage than what you expect, sometimes you'll not have that, right? The key thing is the person that you brought in should be able to treat him. Now what I'm using here is a medical menu, which makes it easier to access these things. But in reality what you do is you ACE interact with him, right? Torso, what damage he has? He has 2 bullet wounds kind of thing, so I need to put a packing bandage. Okay, so I put a packing bandage, and so on and so forth. Now this can be done with multiple different patients. Okay, say I'm done with this guy. I'm not, but what if I'm done? I want a new patient. Okay, let me click this again. That patient vanishes. A new patient will appear in and around the same place, right? With a different set of damages. This time, if you notice, the damages are different. And the way I've written this, the body usually has 2 damages, and the rest of them should have just 1 each. But the damage amount should be severe enough that ACE sometimes puts in more than 1 damages, right? If you want to add more damages, you can. I'll show it to you. Okay, this is one trainee. What if there's a second trainee who wants to train? Well, they can come and do this over here. And there. Now this particular unit, if you notice, is the independent gorilla unit survivor, and that is the blue 4 survivor. The only reason I've used a different unit is it's easier for me to get to them and delete them later on. Okay, as you see, the units and damages are all totally different. You will also notice that these are not dead patients usually because of the amount of damage. You can always change that. Sometimes they die during the treatment. Anyway, I'm done with treatment. I'm done with all of them. They're all fine. Now I want to get rid of them. What do? Well, I come over here and there's a delete patients. Add action. They're gone. Quick, efficient, and simple way of training patients. You can work with them, along with them, not training patients, training recruits or whatever. Okay, so let's look at the file that we have and see how that is made, right? In fact, before we go into the file, let's look at the ACE units modules that we have used. The modules that we have used in this, it's 4 modules. It's not very complicated. So first and foremost, you need to have the advanced system on because that's what we use. If you want to use a basic system, you can still use that. It's not complicated. The codes will be different basically. I changed the litter time to like 5 minutes because I don't want it to stay there for a very, very long time. Normally it's like 1800 seconds or something, but now let it go faster. Keeps things smooth, right? The next thing is the revive system. Make sure this is in players and AI and not just players. And the reason is you want to revive the AI just in case they die, right? And that can happen during the time. I've also increased the time to about 300 seconds instead of 120. So it gives you a decent amount of time to revive the AI units. I enable this so that I can quickly look at the damage instead of going through each body part. Now here, this is up to you, however you like to set it up. Medics only can use the pack, and yes, get rid of them. Surgical kit medics only, and do not get rid of them because it's a surgical kit, you can reuse them, and so on and so forth. But it's up to you to decide how you want to set this up, right? Location of pack is vehicle and facilities. That's why you have a medic facility that we set up over here, which was this building. Okay. The other units are map gestures, maps, interaction system, hearing. I just put them down just in case I need them, but right now we don't need them. Okay, so let's go and have a look at the script. Where is the script? Well, the script is usually in your documents, Arma 3, your profile name, and then you want to look at the missions that you have. In this particular case, we are looking at this particular mission. Okay, create patient. Now see the line I told you, which was not complicated. It's right here. It was an add action with this in the init field. So what it does is it detects if the type of unit you have is this, right? If it is and it is not a player, then delete that unit for all such units in the map. This is where the problem happens, because what if I use a survivor unit as an AI unit somewhere else on the map? So a trigger system would be the most ideal way of going about it, but no one ever uses a survivor unit on the map. But if you plan to use, make sure it's a trigger system where you can pass a variable to the trigger and so on. It can be a tutorial on its own. It's not that difficult. Okay, this is what opens your data terminal. Then it sleeps for 5 seconds by doing nothing before it creates the unit, right? 3 is open, 0 is closed. Okay, we create a group because the way you create a unit using the createUnit command needs a group to be present for said unit, and thus we create that group and place this unit in this group. The line over here is just like the init line of the unit. So we give this unit a name called pat1 or patient1, and then a British command to stop moving, which is do stop. It works the same way. It basically asks them to stop there and not go anywhere, but they can turn around and do other stuff. Okay, this is where you set the ACE damage. Now selectRandom with these 3 stuff that you do. All the body parts are listed here. Now if you want to do a damage, say like a bullet, you do a bullet damage. You want to do a piercing damage, which is stab damage or shrapnel damage, and so on. Falling damage mimics crushing, grenade, backblast. All of them fall into this units. These class of units damages. So ACE can choose one of these three, and each of them have their own type of damages, like avulsions, velocity wounds. This has puncture wounds. This has crushing wounds, and all that stuff. So ACE decides which one to use for whichever one you select from here. And the amount of damage, I wanted it to be enough damage, but not enough to kill the unit. That's what this is for. You can always increase it, decrease it for whatever purpose you want to handle. You can also set the selectRandom right here with various units, various different numbers. It'll select one of them. That'll work just as well. Now, of course, the hint here is only for the person who does the add action, because add action is a local. Anyway, that's not the point. Is only the person who calls the unit is going to see it. The rest don't see it. Okay, same thing with create patient 1. Patient name's different, group is different, so that it doesn't interact with the other one. And of course here we have B_G, which makes it the gorilla units basically. Everything else is exactly the same. Don't worry, I'll keep all these files and stuff, and I'll maybe copy this down in the description so you know where to put it. And that's about it for how to create a medical simulation system in Arma.